Good morning, Carl, and welcome back to Recording Studio Oxford. Last time we left off Mowgli, he, with the help of he had tricked the dholes into running after him, and they ran straight into the hives of the little people, the bees. The one thing that every animal and every human, if he is wise, within the jungles of India truly fears. Now, now we know the trap was sprung on the last one, and that Mowgli managed to dive and avoid the stings of the bees for those few minutes because he was covered in garlic. And now he has plunged into the water and rises around Kaa. How does the tale continue? Kaa held Mowgli fast till the boy had recovered his breath. "We may not stay here," he said. "The little people are roused indeed. Come." Swimming low and diving as often as he could, Mowgli went down the river, knife in hand. "Slowly, slowly," said Kaa. "One tooth does not kill 100 unless it be a cobra's, and many of the dholes took water more swiftly when they saw the little people rise. The more walk for my knife then. Fie! How the little people follow!" Mowgli sank again. The face of the water was blanketed with wild bees, buzzing suddenly and stinging all they foot. "Nothing was ever yet lost by silence," said Kaa. "No sting could penetrate his scales. And thou hast all the long night for hunting. Hear them howl." Nearly half the pack had seen the trap their fellows rushed into, and turning sharp aside had flung themselves into the water where the gorge broke down in steep banks. Their cries of rage and their threats against the tree ape who had brought them their shame mixed with yells and growls of those being punished by the little people. To remain ashore was death, and every dhole knew it. The pack was swept along the current down to the deep eddies of the peace pool, but even there the angry little people followed and forced them into the water again. Mowgli could hear the voice of the tailless leader bidding his people hold on and kill out every wolf in Shawnee, but he didn't want to waste his time. "One kills in the dark behind us," snapped a dhole. "Here is tainted water." Mowgli had dived forward like an otter, twitched a little struggling dhole under the water before it opened his mouth, and dark rings rose as the body plopped up, turning on its side. The dholes tried to turn, but the current prevented them, and the little people darted their heads and ears, and they couldn't hear the challenge of the Shawnee pack growling louder and deeper in the gathering darkness. Again Mowgli dived, and again a dhole went under and rose dead, and again the clamor broke out at the rear of the pack. Some howling was best to go ashore, others calling the leader to lead them back to the Deccan, others bidding Mowgli show himself and be killed. "They come to the fight with 2 stomachs and several voices," said Carl. "The rest is with thy brethren yonder. The little people go back to sleep. They have chased us far. Now I too go back, for I am not with one skin with any wolf. Good hunting, little brother, and remember the dhole bites low." A wolf came running along the bank on 3 legs, leaping up and down, laying his head sideways close to the ground, hunching his back and breaking high into the air as though he was playing with his cubs. It was one Toller, the outlier, and he said he never said a word, but continued his horrible sport beside the dholes. They had been long in the water now and were swimming wearily, their coats drenched and heavy, their bushy tails dragging like sponges, so tired and shaken were they. Too were silent, watching the pair of blazing eyes that moved abreast. "This is no good hunting," said one, panting. "Good hunting," said Mowgli as he rose broadly at the brute's side and sent the long knife home behind the shoulder, pushing it hard to avoid the dying snap. "Art thou there, mon cub?" said one Toller across the water. "Ask of the dead, outlier," Mowgli replied. "Has none come downstream? I have filled these dogs' mouths with dirt. I have tricked them in the broad daylight, and their leader lacks his tail. But there be some few for these still. Whither shall I drive them?" "I will wait," said one Toller. "The night is before us." Nearer and nearer came the bay of the Shawnee wolves. For the full pack it is met, and a bend in the river drove the dholes forward among the shans and shoals and opposite the lairs. Then they saw their mistake. They should have landed half a mile higher up and rushed the wolves on dry ground. Now it was too late. The bank was lined with burning eyes, and except for the horrible feel that had never stopped since sundown, there was no sound in the jungle. It was as though one Toller were fawning on them to come ashore and turn around and take hold, said the leader of the dholes. The entire pack flung themselves at the shore, thrashing and squattering through the shore water till the face of the Waingunga was all white and torn, and the great ripples went from side to side like bull waves on a boat. Mowgli followed the rush, stabbing and slicing as the dholes, huddled together, rushed up the river beach in one wave. Then the long fight began, heaving and straining and splitting, and scattering and narrowing and broadening along the red, wet sands, and over and in between the tangled tree roots, and through and among the bushes, and in and out of the grass clumps, for even now the dholes were 2 to 1. But they met wolves fighting for all that made the pack, and not only the short, high, deep-chested, white-tusked hunters of the pack, but the anxious lahinis, the she-wolves of the lair, as the saying is, fighting for their litters, with here and there a yearling wolf with his first coat still half woolly grappling by his side. A wolf, you must know, flies at the throat or snaps at the flank, while a dhole, by preference, bites at the belly. So when the dholes were struggling out of the water, they had to raise their heads, and the odds were with the wolves. On dry land the wolves suffered, but in the water and the shore Mowgli's knife came out and went without ceasing. The four had worried their way to his side. Grey Brother crouched down beneath the boy's knees and was protecting his stomach while the others guarded his back on either side and stood with him when the shock of leaping, yelling dhole who had thrown himself full on the steady blade bore him down. The rest, it was all one tangled confusion, a locked and swaying mob that moved from right to left and from left to right along the bank, and also ground round and slowly on its own center. He would be a heaving mound like a water blist in a whirlpool, which would break like a water blist and throw up 4 or 5 mangled dogs, each striving to get back to the center. He would be a single wolf borne down by 2 or 3 dholes, laboriously dragging them forward and sinking a while. Here a yearling cub would be held up by the pressure around him, and though he had been killed early, while his mother, crazed with dumb rage, rolled over and over, snapping and passing on, in the middle of the thickest press, perhaps, one wolf and one dhole, forgetting everything else, would be maneuvering for the first hole until they were whirled away by a rush of furious fighters. Once Mowgli passed Akela, a dhole on either side, and his all but toothless jaws closed over the loins of a third. And once he saw Pharaoh, with his teeth set in the throat of a dhole, tugging the unwilling beast forward till the yearlings could finish him. But the bulk of the fight was blind and flurry and together in the dark pit. Hit, trip and tumble, yelp, groan, and worry, round him and behind him and above him. As the night wore on, the quick, giddy go-round motion increased. The dholes were cowed and afraid to attack the stronger wolves, but did not yet dare run away. Mowgli felt the end was coming soon, and contented with striking merely to cripple. The yearlings were growing bolder. There was time now and again to breathe and pass word to a friend, and the mere flicker of his knife would sometimes turn a dog aside. The meat is very near the bone, Grey Brother yelled. He was bleeding from a score of fresh wounds. But the bone is yet to be cracked, said Mowgli. Iowa, thus do we do in our jungle. The red blade ran like a flame along the side of a dhole whose hindquarters were hidden by the weight of a clinging wolf. My kill, snorted the wolf through his wrinkled nostrils. Leave him to me. Is thy stomach still empty, my outlier? One Tolo was fearfully punished, but his grip had paralyzed the dhole, who could not turn round and reach him. By the bull that bought me, said Mowgli with a bitter laugh, it is the tailless one. Indeed, it was the big bay-coloured leader. It is not wise to kill cubs in Lahindis, Mowgli went on philosophically, wiping the blood out of his eyes, unless one has also killed the outlier, and it is in thy stomach and my stomach that this one taller leap kills thee. A dhole leaped to his leader's aid, but before his teeth could find one taller's flank, Mowgli's knife was in his throat. Grey Brother took what was left. And thus do we do in the jungle, said Mowgli. One taller said not a word, only his jaws were closing and closing on the backbone as his life ebbed. The dhole shuddered, his head dropped, and he lay still, and one taller dropped above him. Huh, the blood debt is paid, said Mowgli. Sing the song, one taller. He hunts no more, said Grey Brother, and Akela too is silent this long time. The bone is cracked on the Pharaoh, son of Faraona. They go, kill, out, O hunters of the free people. Dhole after dhole was slinking away from those dark and bloody sands of the river to the thick jungle upstream or downstream as they saw the road clear. The debt, shouted Mowgli. Pay the debt. They have slain the wolf, the lone wolf. Let not a dog go. He was flying on the river, knife in hand, to check any dhole who dared take the water. From under the mound of 9 dead rose Akela's head and 4 quarters, and Mowgli dropped on his knees beside the lone wolf. Said I not it would be my last fight? Akela grasped. It is good hunting. And thou, little brother? I live, having killed many. Even so, I die, and I would die by thee, little brother. Mowgli took the terrible scarred head on his knees and put his arms round the torn neck. It is long since the old days of Shere Khan, and a man cub that rolled naked in the dust. Nay, I am a wolf. I am of one skin with the free people, Mowgli cried. It is no will of mine that I am a man. Thou art a man, little brother, wolfling of my watching. Thou art a man, or else the pack would have had fled before the dhole. My life I owe thee, and today thou hast saved the pack even as I once saved thee. Hast thou forgotten? All debts are paid now. Go now to thine own people. I tell thee again, eye of mine eye, this hunting is ended. Go to thine own people. I will never go. I will hunt alone in the jungle. I have said it. After summer come the rains, and after rains come bad string. Go back before thou art driven. Who will drive me? Mowgli will drive Mowgli. Go back to thy people. Go to man. When Mowgli drives Mowgli, I will go, Mowgli answered. Then there is no more to say, said Akela. Little brother, canst thou raise me to my feet? I also was a leader of the free people. Very carefully and gently, Mowgli lifted the bodies aside and raised Akela to his feet, both arms round him, and the lone wolf drew a long breath and began the death song that a leader of a pack should sing when he dies. It gathered strength as it went on, lifting and ringing far across the river till it came at the last, "Good hunting!" And Akela shook himself clear of Mowgli for an instant, and leaping in the air, fell backward dead upon his last and most terrible kill. Mowgli sat with his head in his knees, careless of anything else, while the remnants of the flying dholes were being overtaken and run down by the merciless lahinis. Little by little the cries died away, and the wolves returned limping as the wounds stiffened, just take stock of losses. 15 of the pack, as well as half a dozen lahinis, lay dead by the river, and the others no one was unmarked. And Mowgli sat through it all till the cold daybreak, when Fowl's wet red muzzle was dropped in his hand, and Mowgli drew back to show the gaunt body of Akela. "Good hunting," said Fowl, as though Akela were still alive. And then over his bitten shoulder to the others, "Howl, dogs! A wolf has died tonight!" But of all the pack of 200 fighting dholes whose boast was all the jungle was their juggle, and that no living thing could stand them, not one returned to Deccan to carry that word. Well, here we come to the end of Akela, the Grey Wolf, and you do remember right at the beginning of these stories, Carl, how Akela spoke for Mowgli and allowed Bagheera to buy him his life and his place in the pack with a fresh killed buck, and he defended him against Shere Khan. And at the very end, Mowgli defended not just Akela, but what Akela valued more, namely the wolves in the jungle. This is the second to last story, and tomorrow we will begin the last of the great stories of the Jungle Book, the last of the tales of Mowgli. I hope you've enjoyed it. I found this one was very good. Until tomorrow, my darling, I miss you very much. Before I go, though, I will finish with Chill's song, the song that Chill sang as the kites dropped down one after the other to the riverbed when the great fight was finished. Chill is a good friend with everybody, but he's a cold-blooded kind of creature at heart, because he knows that almost everyone in the jungle comes to him in the long run. "These were my companions going forth by night. For Chill, look for you, Chill. Now I come to whistle them at the ending of the fight. Chill, vanguards of Chill. Word they gave me overhead of quarry newly slain. Word I gave them underfoot of buck upon the plain. Here's the end of every trail, they shall not speak again. They that called the hunting cry, they that followed fast. Chill, look for you, Chill. They that made the Samba wheel or pinned him as he passed. Chill, vanguards of Chill. They that lagged behind the scent, they that ran before. They that shunned the level horn, they that overbore. Here is the end of every trail, they shall not follow more. These were my companions, but pity 'twas they died. For Chill, look you for Chill. Now I come to comfort them that knew them in their pride. Chill, vanguards of Chill. Tattered flank and sunken eye, open mouth and red. Locked and lank and lone they lie, the dead upon the dead. Here's the end of every trail, and here my hosts are fed.